Hello, etiefo. Me mama jo eba nokware ni adwumadie iso. Me ma obi bia kwa aba e de ba nokware ni adwumadie ne so na me amedi dwumadie ho chia me. Ye frɛ me IMMA-ADIZA, IMMA-ADIZA samu. Mon fanche na ahia na se mikita tawo yi a kire se yamma light of itienra ebe pim ene. Almost on about 3-4 hours be pay. Wie ya na omasa so age omade. Inti ene ye beka Ghana ye state eho asem na yasa aka a Supreme Court no ho nsensem ruling ni a ekosi said ye tie na ansa na ye be free dwumadie na sene ne ntete ho a ene ye de be hya ase ne say anyenye bia no anyenye bia yes a president akọ Dubai okono wafa commercial plane nti yemo yensema no sesen oyeden yemo yensema ne sesen na sebi mprediasa sa adwene ni nyansa no na ko mampanyin no wone dada ada na wa nyisu na se ya pese ohunu se no krepa e wa asem ni muntia anko be na kwa aba yo obi apese ohunu se no prayer e wa asem ni mu a e mo mampan ni kofa sa private way ni mu a tietia ye nyina ye o man mu ye nim pepen se MPP for the omo defend bibia bi defend the omo ya ade pa enene sen yes ya so stand luxury flight ni atum it is sikani ho bia nim so my way ni sikani ayesem ni guy ana omo ye so omo bebre omo ho ase na Oma be cancha Ghana for say, yen ye kan a frase waka and so on way, ye no, omumra, mumuni ahubrasie. Into almost say, wakofana, yes, promise the pack kind and honky can say, and the amo and some man. Okay, and count just our fancy. Then it's now see a boy and some man. Penina na so dear said you omwadie. Na ye son. Bogus na ye bo mo bagana ye bo mo no mo ba won se beginning no won se ne niema na ne efe ne bibia ne efe inti no se che na ice no free system ni mu kakran na se ebehia no a won so o car no aton car ne kakran na ofa taxi ebe kakra so na wasan so fa trotro inti ne ye wonwum bi efe ne se boga befro Oga befro trako ebi na aye akufu adam bi nye no obi ose na adwena sa na adwena sesa na adwene sesa aye na mo sesen se Ghana no niema ekosen enko hwe etim di etim ayere sebenta bibia ankoso no mo si dum so ni ho ene de eye dum disco ni betwemu ade aka no ye dum nko a me ne wo ka sei esra so kra de enra blackout no mo asat me no mo ka sei light ne kra maaye ye kra ye tiri ne ye nya abe 3 hours bi e de hwe ye how far ne de charge ye nema intino oman no bibia ankoso se light ya me ka sei ye dum no more than be 18 hours no ye kra na wato no pay as you go itin nke ba ye na ka reflect on a card na wato no ana say o credit no enye sa na ti o de wo use no sa na use inti kro no de ana omo boye sa na ye de awura ye internet mususu a omo de boye kro no inti no IMF na president se omo nko no enye omo na enko mane ye ma omo na ye be ma omo so a agiso omo di bibi besi awowa eno na omo force ye say yentua 11 no na omo fa kwaje awowa omo sorry ana omo dwa wo mo nim say de omo to ada ho inti ne Ghana for mo mamani ne ma adwene mu enna ho na so omo ka say ekufu adone na aban ka say mo hwe soro a mo hwe fom anya sa de be samase agu fom no because obi anim entro party omo timi chantro ana omo ho ato omo ni aniwo omo ye failed arrogant party a omo say shameless because omo ni aniwo abo ensa ho intino omo enim de ko omo nim de ko pabat omo abo aniwo dua sika no so a omo adwe amana kadompe afa de akufa ado sesen wo say country bia no wa betimi a building overnight na wo bie wanu akase oba you change Ghana in 18 months no na wo say na wonim de wo kan onimu o talk is cheap broni besie intino enne no ye beka kire tiefo say de de ba no eyo gentino said de Uncle Ben esi awura mu ntem no me pese ye be say mre no me de entete ho no ebesi aha na ye di dwumadie no ahyehye eso ama etiefo adofo enya kwan ahwe no matie bi nti Uncle Ben mesa ma wakwa aba eba no kware no ni adwumadie no so
IMMA-ADIZA midasi mijiriza uhiye de
yanko pado me ho ye na me no kasa di ehwe na ekumi
Yesu awo ha o enti sena wiase no etia no ehwe wo baabi no na awo baabi obi usunu na obi so sere ti says sena Ghana for sunu na na dodie oni ni profo no na mo sere wiase ni die sa na etie enti ye be fa ni sa
mase inti no so bechia adofo bi a ansa na me de topic na to etiefo anim
IMMA-ADIZA we de midasini akonya we emse mi ba program ni su be emse a check akra na ya mi tati u na mebo wa baso se u bo hu modin mechia eyi ya shefuni adofo no munyina bebi omuti bia na serena mesro se bomodian se ubetwe MPP fo no abaha na yeni o ma be fi su wo ha efi se
enche
nyama o muka kire se o beye ye pese ye mbe hia o mo wo ha 1-on-1 na yeni o mu fi su wo ha se mechia NDC fo wo yasa afana nyina na debia mi kan se mi de mi role model wo NDC mu de Felix Kwachi Fosu bebi owo bia no mi chia no wo ye obi a I don't cease listening to him because he inspired me a lot and me share no da and me was sure say I will one day have the opportunity to thank him say ejuma wo ye ma NDC and the way he carries himself no it is inspiring some of us far away without his knowledge and he obi obeti eyibia na obenya ni contact amame no I'll be very grateful brother Evans who yebechia no
the contact amount
Dr. Lawrence no yebechia omunyina say ufans no omudoso Nana Hima yebechia no adiba ko a eshi mi pa se matise party bi akoso yes ye baba ko e friend no Mami Hana wo ye birthday party bi a say ye nyina ya ntimi amba ho nanka mi pese mi besa wo ho kakra na antimi anya yie next time no mi free ahi bubua no a mebu afa ye friend ni sen amokum na maba atonso bokru na mabehwe se yi party bi wo ho ana media fifi so na mi chianu bebre happy belated birthday ewo mami hana Mercy Dixon so yebechiao say nkrofo no eyana mi refi omudin kakra bet omunyina nim say I have them in mind and mi checha omunyina everybody Madiza dia wo
mate medase aha ene eye ma Becky Stone UK Ireland deputy women's organizer ene ye ne birthday ana happy belated to say the okay na hana samobompe me heartbeat intino me wishing a happy belated birthday ne dear March ne nsan ya yendinwie intino Uncle Ben time be ready within March and over to me abe joining party no ana a former Asopa constituency chairman a friend Malvin also or aspiring for Ashanti regional treasure or no so ebo mechidom intino chairman Malvin mechia obaby a ubia na mesa chia Mama Tundra deputy Ashanti regional women's organizer Tundra ne di enti a ye fe ne Tundra no che say ne backside emu ye duye pa nti ye hwe ka no so ye fe ne Tundra na sa ne shape ne te nti no mechia no na machia Dr. Lawrence ne akolenya me Mercy Dixon ana Nana Hima said yodi kaka ni ana Paul G ana vibrant youth me ba ye friend Rahina eso mechia ne pa fatal convener of your friend is saying BBM inti mechia obibia onimia ohwemia minimum no afei enchia kese enkoma mebra bia wo bom achidom enya asem ketu akra me flyer na me niema bebre on na yema me na the umbrella on na ye kofabaefo umbrella ye fe no esen Kwesi Joseph mebra Joseph baby a wo bia on na CEO for the umbrella group nyankopon enhiraw ewo baby a wo ye bia se odra wa yi a kire me unconditional love said ye dodo na ekire me odo no nyankopon enhira obi bia na ansa na yebehya ase no meka me de topics ne betu etiefo anim no ma follow inti no ya no wa share amame o share no wa like no wa comment na onua bisu enya bi ahwe yes current state of Ghana's economy levy the only solution. Anna, is Ghana overreacting to the mere mention of coup? What steps must be adopted to avert it? Supreme Court ruling, is it politically motivated? Anna, matters are rising. Semri womwa, Ukraine war, no, Russia-Ukraine war. Is it its impact on Ghana and rest of the world? Intino eno ene ensem bebre ya ye beka ho asem intino Uncle Ben ye be sha ase wo the state of the economy no is levy the only solution your first topic no
yo Madiza we de medasi ni akonya we bio na mesa achia etiefo ni adofo no munyina na say asema wabisa no the state of the economy is levy the solution IMMA-ADIZA, the answer is simply no. E-levy is not the solution to our problem. Nanka ubisami the state of the nation. Anka yenyinano constitutional requirements are. Nanka omampenyi eshenu se ombe kantreye bebi ayadru the state of the nation as we speak now. President is running away from his constitutional duties to account to the people and to tell the people the state of our nation. Omuche bose 3rd of March. Nanka yebabe ye sona, which is State of the Nation address. Enono omankasa ba parliament say enya dia ompese ombeye omatu asheda koda benya. Nobody can tell. But it points to one fact, and that fact is very, very visible on the ground. It's too obvious for even the president to come and even talk about it. State of the nation, no, Sesiano, anything. The state of the nation as we speak today, no, any say ekano amene ya boka masesiano yentimi yenya kwankran ko boka bim. Sa kanu nyina ya bonusu yenhu de yedi sa sika na ye. Institutions are more ho a esese omu grade ye, and that will inform sika yekoji ehun insie anase interest so no yebe kire no sesiano we have been so badly downgraded we have become unattractive to those lenders or more international market. That is the state of our nation today. Sika aba ye futu nyina so we have so mismanaged them to the extent that it is becoming difficult, extra difficult for government to meet its obligations. Obligations, you know, ebine den 5% of government total revenue. Sika esese yenya nyina no 5% of it has to go to the district assemblies. Menu ukasei that district assembly sika esese ekoho is in serious arrears. In fact, it is being estimated say it is in arrears for about a year. School feeding, scanning. Ayabe introduced in the schools. Can you imagine that a government has not even given the schools textbooks? Omudebe running the newly introduced syllabus. No? The state of the nation as we speak today, no, and he said in Koraibeko school, just for some few weeks, na yesi ombetina fie sa na omasa anko school. That is the state of the nation which we find ourselves today. And then conditions are a war or mine is so bad to the extent that people are undergoing unbearable hardship. And we share obinum to say TUC, NAGRAT, University Teachers Association, UTAG, GMA, Ghana Medical Association, and a whole lot of them, including the one that has been brought about by this president or this administration, NAPO. Omunina assume say their home take pay cannot even take them home. That is the reality of the situation in which we find ourselves today. And if there is any other better time, nanka SSA the sound bites of Dr. Baumia, the vice president, say traders are suffering, teachers are suffering. I mean, drivers are suffering, mates are suffering. Teachers are suffering, students are suffering. Doctors are suffering, nurses are suffering. The simple word I hear Kachira will say, Krum Ayeshi. Krum na Ayeshi no, it is born out of the incompetence, the abysmal performance of this administration. Na IMMA-ADIZA eya na omadwani ateki cover. Cover ni saying ombe ba be Kachira say COVID ena asay bibia COVID inti enekra body e dia beto so ni say omanya Putin akọ ataki Ukraine enti omudi enu so abeka ho uko kan no ma Kachira say oh de mu kan nyina no say ye mu nkwan na nye o say eye mu school na say o say school feeding na enko whatever you confront this government with no obeka Kachira say e-levy and a best of the problem and so bisa say e-levy no eye the panacea to our economic problems are it is capital no questions are say ye bisa who say how did we get here? Very critical and very important for us to digest. Then and a yebedru pempensua yabedrui. IMMA-ADIZA before NDC left office. Now what we call homegrown policies via. So our policies now it was born out of the Century Conference. At a point, NDC was of the notion that we were not going to the IMF. But even when you go to the Bible, you see, Kwasi Apena Sebi on Sisanagi. At a point, we said, no, let us bring everybody on board, dialogue among ourselves, and find a solution to our problems. Now, IMMA-ADIZA Kachira say most of the problems that engulfed the NDC during their administration has to do with the extended Dumsona Yanyayen. And this was not the fault of President Mahama. It has been a systematic problem at Wohua. Nobody took the bull by the horn to solve that problem. And at a point when Mahama came, it has compounded. And the Obeyeni said, he took up the challenge and said that he was not going to manage the situation, but he was going to fix it. And now, Kashai, we have been able to fix it before we handed over to the MPP. And it had a heavy toll on the economy. Now, President Mahama called a conference at Senchi. Omu dialogue, it became, very important that we have to go to the IMF. But you call hono, nyama yedi tutu akwanmu no, share projections by any nyina it was pointing to one thing, that going into the next year, which is 2017, things were going to go better. And that is what these people came to inherit. They did not only inherit a very vibrant energy sector, omu inheriti sikasu. Sika yeja edima omno. So omu Kachira say yetiskasu. Ampa na yetiskasu. Na sa sikano, a visionary leader edisikano to war because he knew that there will be bad times. Obi be bisase sika no any dia wohin. IMMA-ADIZA, we had in the stabilization fund $300 million in the stabilization fund. President Mahama, Ejama, Nana Akufo-Addo. ye we ye no ye wo bibia ye friend no sinking fund. Na sinking fund no, the reason why we created that escrow account, your friend no sinking fund no, and he said, Busia President Kufuor wo boy tama no wo no. Most of those Busia no boy no, na it was maturing. Maturing ni say be our fa Busia no for 10 years. 10 years no abedru wo mama mreso. And therefore, as I say, no to her, nasa time no draw, you don't default in your payments. So we created a sinking fund to meet your friend no amortization to pay off all those maturing debts a war. So sinking fund no ye jawom $270 million in that sinking fund. Ebe enu nkoden chenu we ye di bibi by a friend no Esla. Sa Esla no every year bia no e ma ye 3 billion. Enenu nkrofo ye hwehwe 6 billion. Every year bia no Esla no ma ye 3 billion. IMMA-ADIZA, as at the time we were creating this Esla no nkrofo ye gina simpiesu e ka kire mama se ni trimodi wo ye mambofo. Now he's so insensitive to the people, and that tax here war introducing it is nuisance tax. Nyami charge mama crowd creative wo jaima every year biano it is giving them 3 billion Ghana cedis. In 5 years of governance, that means it has given them 15 billion. Enti anka obia wowo ahubarasie obekai se mama aye biama no enu nkoda nche no ye wo bibia ye frɛ no Ghana Investment Infrastructure Fund na enu no ye GIIF na GIIF ye bomodi se ye creative fund bi dia to ho investment and infrastructure next say Sasikanu, ye bet me follow on that Sasikanu to build on our infrastructure deficit. Ukai say President Nana Akufo-Addo Kachiro say wako kati sword for Agenda 111. Sika awodi kotu asiye as the seed money for Agenda 111. Sika no wako fanu wahi. Or the $100 million ne tu asiye sasika no ogofa no yin. That money is coming from the visionary leader, the nation builder. Sika yedi atuwo in the Ghana Investment and Infrastructure Fund. A whole no ko yi sasika no. And the whole cost of them. And you are creating funds at the amount. And no no answer na yebe free abayamu. We have made so much investment in the oil field. Ansana omubeba bayamono, not two oil field was just about taking off. We only have to work with Jubilee field as the only source of oil revenue. Omubeba no, ena your friend is saying, apart from Jubilee no, omunya Sankofa and time coming on board. So by way of oil revenue, they are getting more than 3 times what Mama got. Because Mama Mbrenu Sukrano, there was a whole problem. Revenues, a call from power. And then omunya sika free ho. So we should ask ourselves, why are we still facing these economic problems? So mudi koshe COVID IMMA-ADIZA COVID no enye Ghana pen enya COVID. It was global. Enti yanye hwe kra no yenhwe nkrofo mu surround ye nyina na yenfa ntutu ye hu say all these people around us, Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, Burkina Faso, name them, Yevtimiko to Kenya and all these people, have they all been so badly downgraded like Ghana? Nyaminta Chad ye woni papia onu ye World Bank director a woti Ghana ho. Wabeka, and he's on record to have said, say, Ghana cannot continue to blame its problems on COVID. Your friend Pierre Laporte. Now Pierre Laporte, no, SC, before COVID came on board, the signs were so clear, so glaring, that everybody could see that Ghana was heading in the wrong direction. We were having economic challenges facing us, staring us in the face. And say omuwo in the Sabia, instead of blaming COVID, no, they should rather thank COVID. Because anka enye COVID anka omuntimi nko World Bank enkoji an amount of $430 million. The only thing that was known to Ghanaians was that they have received $100 million from the World Bank. Saana omu painting picture no. Only for the World Bank director no, to come and tell us the total amount of money received by the government of Ghana is $430 million. And yebisa, when did they receive the rest of that 330 at the blind side of everybody? When did they receive that amount? Omu Jesus Sikano and country obia anything. Apart from that, who can say omunko IMF? And yes, say obikra na can say omunko IMF. Omu former parliamentarian, our economist, your friend Mark Asibe Yeboah, is on record to have told this administration that they should eat the humble pie, come down from their high horses, and admit the fact that they are candidates for IMF. Who bought IMF dia na MPP for omutikwa pie. Omusi adentina obi embo IMF di. Eyo omuchiri wadie. Omumpe krati. If that is the case, COVID yiba IMF has given you $1 billion. Madiza. $1 billion. Se uti uchiri IMF Madiza fani se misi michiri ebro na ubeshe mi breakfast na mi num kuku ewia ubaya na medi dokuno enyumre na makabe nkupu pa medi ubebi so won se na ebro kra wo chiri ni as a vegetarian wo wi na as a Roman software wako impregnate obi. And in some sano say MPP for a catcher or say omudi or muchiri IMF. Sometimes you wonder. Says idea omunfa omu 1 billion no emfa koma omu back. IMMA-ADIZA stabilization fund President Mahama, the nation builder no odi two no. Omakoyi $250 million from that stabilization fund, all in the name of COVID. Bank of Ghana, Omakoji $10 billion. In fact, there has been certain whispering from sources B, says it was more than 10 billion. But since it has not been fully established, no, Yebefano, what is official now? Say Omaji $10 billion cedis from the Bank of Ghana. Germany amayeska, South Korea amayeska. So they should come and account for these funds. They came to Parliament to kick against any accountability. So if all this quantum of sika ebo mufutu, which is amounting to about 33 billion cedis, about mufutu, and they cannot give vivid account of how these monies were expended. No? How do you entrust them with 6 billion Ghana cedis or mushushe by way of levy? IMMA-ADIZA, imagine saying Crawford anya 33 billion to show up this economy and see what they are telling us. They will not even account for it. IMMA-ADIZA, the whole thing why we are here has to do with the fact that 2016, be free election year, no, we have budget overruns, and it happens most of the time when there is election year. In the last election year before NPP came to power in 2016 under John Dramani Mahama, we had budget overruns to the tune of 6%, 6.1% actually. 6.1% the NPP for the year and the kitwa. 2020 unya sa sika nyina me bubo so nyina. You had a budget overrun of 15%, more than double sika you were accusing your predecessor of. And enu ena edisa asemi abetu yene. Tama omuba abemu. Nkrofoi employed over 125 ministers. A record-breaking 125. In fact, they must appear in the Guinness Book of Records, because no country has ever employed this quantum of ministers. Enu kodanche enu ubeshe say ministers here yedi omabai. Are we getting value for money? IMMA-ADIZA ukosha omusi omaye procurement minister. Procurement minister for the first time no mudi bo munsa for him. Say ye the procurement minister ba. Satama ye the procurement minister ba yen. That is the time we witness the most rotten corruption ever in procurement. Enuna Manasa Zuri Koye investigations where the procurement authority, Mr. Ejie, the corruption warrior was setting up on Wankasani business, which is even conflict of interest, and subcontracting them in a lot of government contracts. Ushe sika wonyaye obia waba ni sika nyina won account ni somewhere around 45,000 cedis no has shot up to about 400 million in the Kika and Kamui. You get to wonder how these people created this office for what purpose. Enunkodanche your trade ministry. Trade ministry, it will take care of everything. In Crawford say Debbie, they have gone to create another ministry called Ministry for Business Development. And what business, what kind of business the trade ministry cannot take care of? Is it not duplicitous? Omudi bibi by a friend Zongo Development. Ministry ya setting up for Zongo Development. Now omumbe kana yentia omumbe kachire say they were going to transform Zongos into first-class residential areas. IMMA-ADIZA, Mako Aswasi Zongo, Mako Abuabu Zongo, Abuabu 1, Abuabu 2, Mako Honina Zongo Nina, Mako Moshi Zongo Nina, Moshi Town, Mako Chichi Honina. IMMA-ADIZA min transformation bi ankrofo ya ye mako 1990 NIMA akọ mamobi sabo zongo se wo Ghana uko ho nyina chese it has even worsened under this administration and to be bisa omo say zongo development no development ben en obudi aba zongo for them to create this ministry feeding fat on the exchequer yewo ho en ombeka kire say omo create ministry for special initiative ube bisa say what at all do these people want to initiate Yabisa Nanado about all this quantum of ministers and ministries and what have you. He said, was he young judging at the end of his 4-year term, and that he was then, he was in a hurry. In a hurry to do what? Was he at the end of his 4-year term, we should come and judge him. 4-year term, any year. Whether we had value for money. Ministries are communication and information joined together, manned by just 3 people. Omani Buama, Miankasami Felix, any James Ajeni Mbwati. Combined ministries of communication and information. NCA Tower, it was under them. A lot of a friend is saying Nyama Omuka interoperability was made under these people. Konokoshe Digital Center, Accra. The employment is generated in Nyama under just these 3 people. Nana Akufo-Addo Bayenu, he has employed 7 people to man that communication and information. They can't get even their communication and information together and put it across for the people. Transportation say, Ube bisa omu say, they are not achieving by way of transportation. You can roads and transport. Now it embraces railways and aviation in Yama. Jifa ativo omu. Shejuma omu ye. Neshe railways are here from Tema through Akosombo Eko. Enu nyina yesika President Mahama ehwehwedi to ho a ene omuye mu adwuma no. Omuba ombe kase omu fa credit for that. But we know the beginning of that project, who went for the funds and who had all the plans and programs to initiate them. Fufuan Antoine
for Samotimin Camon Fan Chemi, Kakrana Minim de Abba, said your Munimuno. Aha,
IMMA-ADIZA, who tell me? Who tell me?
Patchine.
We are way no munyanano, who are ministers with a lot of deputies were establishing, and United no Ukofa or Bifu Frobi as another ministry for monitoring and evaluation. Bisaon said the sector ministers can they monitor and evaluate and report to you? Do you have to take another person to do this work? This is waste of our taxpayers' money. Actually, on top of all this, Omusa Ankofa Obia Omusi Oye senior minister. The role of that senior minister, IMMA-ADIZA, Yenim. And the Ombeye Yeni said, job for the boys, they had over 1,000 presidential staffers. All these people were feeding on the exchequer, taxpayers' money. So when we in a community here, and I see somewhere Yebabe Busian way, they have collateralized all the source a yɛde nya sika yɛde tumpon anka sika yɛnya yɛde kɔ the bit say school ne nneɛma is through get fund yi ɔmo de akɔsi awowa ɛna ɔmo agye sika no so a manfa mbɛyɛ adepa ɛnɛ no we will be continue paying this get fund maybe for the next 10 years road funds ne nneɛma nyinaa esla ya mama ayɛde ato hɔ a ɛbɛma 3 billion in a year nyinaa wasan de akɔsi awowa wuwie ya nanka ye mineral resources na ɛba no revenue na every minerals wɔ gold ni diamond ni nneɛma no ube create avenue bi a udi enu so be kɔsi awowa ɛna Ghana for say there be Japa deal ye ntwɛn ma just collateralize everything in Ghana. Anka nyesa anka omudi Japa esubaye, but we kicked against it. Enti uhwe wenu mu nyina ene sika aba omufutu mu a IMMA-ADIZA she say President Mahama all this while no he worked with 248 billion Ghana cedis. Ejuma omu say President Mahama ye school a school, hospital a hospital, road a road, water project a water project. Semisi me kan adibechin. The list is so tall. And they say the kind of ejuma ye with just 248 billion total revenue as compared to President Akufo-Addo, who has gotten over 400 billion. Look at the disparities and ask yourself, say, nipa ya wanya so much this quantum of money, edem pa na odi ye say Ghana for huchiri omuse. Nanka with all this money, no, he would have invested in the economy to make it vibrant, to make it grow. And then almost E11, no, a lot of people are not paying tax. IMMA-ADIZA, let us analyze that issue of amount for tax. Say yes, tax. Tax yesika yeji free amount for hoa eba abain futu. And that thing can come in many forms. It can come direct or indirect. And it's a obima indirect. You don't come and tell that person say or no on your tax. In more formal sector, ye work or more data or more tax in India mine. Almost it is about 2.4 million people who are paying direct tax. Now, Yembisa said, Omuba Abaimunu, have they been able to, open up the space in the formal sector, a better amount for Bibria, Omubetia direct tax now. When they came, people who were paying taxes in the banking industry, do you know how many people Obiti say Indum were employee? The number of people Indum was employing, you came, you collapsed his business and other people's business. We see banking sector no what problem. Accepted.
I'm watching.
How much is the problem with this banking sector? Nininaanu ye calculate here. It is 9 billion. 9 billion problem. Meanwhile, what investing 21 billion to address a 9 billion problem? Is this conscionable? Does it make economic sense? And say Nkrofoi Omuba not Ombe Kachiro say they are better managers of the economy. The situation on the ground is exposing them big time. And then the vice president Ayenim said when it comes to economic matters, or my lectures every now and then, he's giving us lectures, he has developed cold feet. He can't come and tell us why we should pay the e-levy. He has kept mute, and it tells you, say, Omankasanu, they have gauged the temperature in the country and have come to the realization, say, through their reckless borrowings, their reckless spendings, and their abysmal performance in the economic sector, this is what it is. NAPCO crowd mudi bo musa for him. That NAPCO people are demonstrating against them, and that should tell them that they have failed and failed big time. IMMA-ADIZA, nyama bebre wo ho a nkrofo yi omaya unhu se chese they were spending left, right, and center as if there was no tomorrow. You have a president, obefa wiemhwe flight or two kwanya. Sometimes you ask yourself, according to Nukra war to know, a damn potty no pakoyen or wow, you will not know. Or two kwanya, now I call high plane. Whilst we have our own presidential jet standing, no, he will not use it. He would rather prefer giving it out to George Oponwia of Liberia or the Guinean president to be using. He is above that class. He needs luxurious jet that can fly 14,000 per hour.
So I'm see a security BBB internet security who here, but your private jet and the say no, and no dear still a security no, and shada enkoye but Emirates dear it was security president bet me and then a 21 member beko akofro normal continue. I say adanko dada doing no.
Yeah, IMMA-ADIZA. One, so omuka security na omudi baye no, that angle no, it falls flat. In fact, it has no legs to stand on. It is a kind of excuse that is hollow and shallow for any fellow to follow, let alone swallow. Look, IMMA-ADIZA, so ukita wankasa wu presidential jet. The pilot, who na obe choose your own pilot. In Crawford, said, you know the security details on your own flight. There's a hook or higher, they will come with their own pilots, their own air hostess, and I said, Bibisa, do you know those people? Do you know whether they are spying on you? If you are asleep, do you know whether they have cameras recording you? So your security itself is compromised. But so Peter Wankasa will flight, you have your own people inspecting everything in the flight, ensuring that pilot no onkoye suicide bomber bia, he will run into one mountain B. Do you get my point? There are people you trusted. Fly. But when you go and hide, they will not give you the flight, say, Koneko Yusu. They will bring their own crew. And do you know the people who made up this crew? So these are security matters, no bar.
Big question.
Tell them that it is hollow and shallow for any fellow to follow, let alone swallow. And no, omufantu baby. It is just an appetite.
Uncle Ben, me pacha one man.
And America say Omuka Chirao say it is for security reasons. Tell them that what they are saying is hollow and shallow for any fellow to follow, let alone swallow. Because Ababi and
okay, Mate.
Ababi and IMMA-ADIZA, the whole thing has to do with the fact that this is a man who has appetite okay, appetite for opulence, for luxury. Nanado oba abayamuno. Even crowd can say or no crap on your one use stage vehicle. So among for a bodging only for us to be laughing at the wrong side of our mouth. And then he is not only using luxury vehicles. The chair he sits on, he said, "Akonya ya meeting sui." Sa akonya nankasa has its own V8. Yes, so air condition the gunusu. IMMA-ADIZA. Fifre a etiwi, unya air condition bianca any. So the whole thing has to do. Sa AC no yedi gu akonya so. Na yepoha na wakotena so. Whatever is informing this movement of that chair, no, you just cannot understand. They take it from radio station to radio station, from Deba grounds to Deba grounds. Every function there, they take it along, and you don't get what kind of wisdom are we getting from carrying this chair along. Meanwhile, last time we say Oko Brazils, interview, no, he sat on the normal chair. But why is it that when he comes to Ghana, any chair that will be provided him, he will not sit on it? Is it for security reasons, for spiritual reasons, superstition, now, whatever it is, no? I mean, I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, a spiritual reason. If you say, Oko Amonania, a honor drone in Traho, but Ghana, dear, yes, one fana konya neches were Timias is to say, Yaya Shaniama, air cosuya, and near me, yenwa, sa, one far konyana will be better. Because in Crawford to me diseases crack a see be kuna, I tell Dwodwo into sanity. Osro Ghana. But drama no near Osro.
IMMA-ADIZA. Spiritual idea fairly power. Because nanado ba abamu. Spirituality ni superstition inti. Yedi abeben. Edi manu. Abeben yi yenim se abeben yi abayi die. Ye security as a nation ebeko ye. Ye economy ebeko ye. Sports ebeko ye. Ye niyama nyina beko ye. Sports die ye ko ye no first round Comoros in the 2 year frame. Ye economy issue. In fact, Dr. Nyao Tamaklu. Onu na okan se Ghana for nim no mu ye mistake. Na abai, which is 2020 abano, ekoma na nadua. Ghanaians will have a bitter lesson. They will taste it. A very, very bitter lesson. IMMA-ADIZA, baby anya wo biano.
Enye easy.
Wo block, wo rock bia fakomano. Enu na ye hunu. They came promising you everything. They came promising you everything. Omusi every district biano, omudi factory beko ho. District bia factory no ewo yi.
How sani beka say ya mutu. Etie for samote minka mon fanche na light out bi ayaye no ha no se de mikita ta ode ebo mi minimum bobo no a saa inti no light iko ide saa so na network no ebebu ni mu kakra inti etie for emfanche ne ehwese ant koben besa atimi abo awremu a
IMMA-ADIZA utemi.
me pa cho me tio network in the bu ni mu kakra me no ka say light na ma still nti eda ye gusu a ye pim so
Very IMMA-ADIZA the woman is saying
oba same ne akama ye na ya connect topic so no
okay enti the woman is say IMMA-ADIZA so bisa say the state of the nation as we speak today no omankasa no muka omasem say if the fundamentals are so weak, rotten, and so bad, the exchange rate will expose you. Which exchange rate here? She said, "Na expose you. The whole economy is in a mess."
Yeah, easy.
So who bisa say E-levy no and the best of the problem now. IMMA-ADIZA E-levy no bema ye 6.9 billion, which is 7 billion when we round it up. Sasikano, it was calculated on the basis that the E-levy will be collected at the rate of 1.75 for 12-month period. Nasa 1.75 no. Sesia omankasa oma review 1.75 no at the about 1.5, which means rate eswati. Apart from that, so January and February has also finished. And even 6.9 no ye calculating say omubenyano, it is no more feasible. And omun review no omube kanchre ahina aka say ye pasia omubenya. In any case, let us even grant say all the 6.9 ombenya. So 7 billion. The whole year, you are estimating, say, sika opesa unyanu by way of taxes, 80 billion. And 80 billion, uyi 7 no free one. It's just like a drop in the ocean, a tip of the iceberg. And bisa who say, how can they make up all this difference? Budget deficit, expenditure, expected total revenue. There is a difference of about 35 billion. How are you going to get all this money? And the reality is that the E-levy is not a panacea to our problem. They are only trying to get the E-levy to use it as a collateral to go and borrow more. And borrowing more, omankasa no muka say, borrowing is a lazy man's approach. As I also say, if it is just about borrowing, her own daughter or son can be a president. And omankasa no muka say they are moving from borrowing to taxation. From taxation to production. And so once we move production now, we want to see boost in productivity and taxation coming low. Near say moody new taxes air bar, moody sanitation tax about, moody COVID tax about need the kika and count. And IMMA-ADIZA on the issue of the economy, they have performed so abysmally. They have exhibited their crass incompetence of handling the economy, and they have borrowed so recklessly, and today there is no hope for Ghana. The only hope left, it is the coming of JDM, Inshallah 2024.
Yeda nyankopon ase na meda wase pa na ediebe ehun anewo omampanyini ene na aban mu a okobo word cool na omoyam hyehye om ene adanu a winya bo cool ni pe adanu abedam Oliver na hwan po na TV ase a osemideye cool nti me ka akyerew omo seriously so obi be cool a cool e wo Ghana ha menye sure say Mama me fan no na light na ba. Na etie for mo fancha me said the exclusive demen bibi ya me. Inti no 5. Inti the way cool no ba. One ebe cool was a media na Guinea for any omo keka ho na omo cool na succeed no. Me gidi say senko omo catch a president na aka president saka want na ekuro ni mu anasa obe tighten ebia ni secret no. But I had the obie wanu a Oliver Ewo UK. Oba Ghana. There is no way say ye be pinimpo emane di atre ye metal cra fruit plane. Bray be drew Ghana say sometime wa home kra airport ani akoche no. Na ekoba ne sami mi hu ni se ase omo ye coward ana omo de kata bibi so. If he say the mere mention of coup it me scare one time I to come from an time I JJ be coup. First one of failure, second one or succeed, you know. Or the better to one. Then yes, sure say Osama bin Laden air quack be a ye fairness America 20,000 was 2001 no. On our situation US as accommodate sa a magnetic one when it's in say we manage plane no. And Russia for air quack to share Ukraine for no. I know my catch some more. I da say about to share or swan. Can will they sit and watch them? So come back prepared. But I said the mere mention of coup. Whoa! Na a police soon. So it's no omu ye a hoofo. And na a dear tina Emma omusro word no coup no meanwhile so omu 4 destiny coup ba Ghana po. Emma a shasiye. Emma koto kamu kotu kwame nkromani ade. But omu di aso omusro. Na kwa say etwitwa mini bi esro ayana na. Ebi say the omani kono any the way and mudano MPP aban ne vice ne Akufo Addo beye ye no. Me first no I don't wish him long life, but this time no me wishing a long life because oya akokra na wanye ne niema yie no okọ prisoner. I wish to visit him. Na me kan sem ba akopɛ ne mfa nkyerɛ ni. Inti no papa oda ada na obi anye kumpa ya yebo. Ku na Ghana for eka na oyam hyehyew no. Kwantri o. Ene praye. Ene sekama na yusu no ye kan say. Na Ghana mpo no dia na ammunitions be na momwo. Na obi fufuru abenya eyi a ode ba be ku. Iti president no vice no nkrofo. Fix the economy na munyai say mo makuku hunu mo no moda amona na ye dem paibo emu odin time achi se mu benya nkwatenten ene ahoode emu ham na se mudi bone a na ma aban ne kwa awie ya hye aban ebebe ya me hope say beye the visionary leader himself the humble handsome ye freno esirem jata John Dramani Mahama ba akope ebeba no abe rescue Ghana because eboshe no a ye boy no Nana Akufo Addo ne dom ye ma fail totally broni beka se completely eso totally no so ma fail kra mo failed arrogant government cowards na monsa ngomo ho emma Kofu Adru baby o se o Ghana for na minim saade ne se nete na Nana Akufo Addo de ye de nipa na o se eche se wa bon kra na wa ye se papa go ho obi antu ye jeje wa baba ne tata ne yetini Nyankopon ye adom ne yebu na ebu a ya besraw ne ya tonsu amwa no na Ghana de wa besei no wa wi dompe kra ma ye ntimi dompe ne kra wasan kaase no wabubom kra fama kraman na wasan we kase na guso anu nsu aguso inti no said the mere mention of coup etimi scare MPP Akufo Addo bia wo de Oliver yen nyina ye nim say yen ma wonfa metal spoon, teaspoon, and answer sugar spoon crown for plain in bagana ha. Let alone other weapon. Na bre yi free yi ba nipa mu okọ school obaya ahwe nkita no na makoche na kwa akohyem na oka kira mo se eye kangaroo quarter why sabi why mo onye mo se ono so onye iti no oni mu di besie ni pa ni mo de ne behyem ache se o freedom fighter ana freedom fighters no kra de mo nti se dogo bi kra nu abe de na adwene kire no na no ana obeka no intimidating can stop them from speaking their mind. Yes, say be a citizen and not a spectator or whatever. Adiano Korea, it's yenano, yen to me, yen kaini and ka and yeshe na president name Ukrano or plagiarize from a bush eho into yen to me kai and you'll be a speecher. What can in 90 could the whole any a day ever to your team into no. Be a citizen and not a spectator. Yes, citizen. So I know so. It's Uncle Ben. A dear now, efa sa somewhere. Ma, I say, a shaky the balls of MPP men no. As the Emma, a whom be a bowom, or be house so. Omo crack and telecrom kitted na omo de abe ku.
IMMA-ADIZA.
Yes, Uncle Ben.
Sometimes, you know, a binomu kasa uti omo na wa bisa omo say MPP for ena omo kasa na omo kasa no omo de abe for NDC for when it comes to the issue of who needs a nyama IMMA-ADIZA obi beye ku a ye bombodi a say ye nyina ye di ahodi ni ye bibia be resist sa nipa kro because ESA 2024 nyama papa eba nipa papa wo ba no ni nyina be block enti ESA ye bombodi a say we marshal whatever we have to stop anybody from going into toppling this government by the barrel of the gun. Now, IMMA-ADIZA, you see Oliver Akokan say, I will do the coup myself. IMMA-ADIZA, you see coup a TF1 ni afefo nyina so they can also help themselves. Issue no court, and I don't want to go into the merits or demerits of the case in the court.
Okay.
But we can all educate ourselves. Say Obika say kuwa, what is the meaning? Say uko na uko gugula, uko share coup d'etat, a specific definition of coup d'etat. And sa coup d'etat no.
Okay.
Enu HLO say a sudden violent and illegal seizure of power from a government. A sudden violent and illegal seizure of power from a government. Enu ye coup d'etat. But when it comes to coup, d'etat non kamuno. Eyemi mama say the same Google no, mommy, 2 meanings to that coup. 2 meanings, no. The first one, no, it is the same, just like the coup d'etat. Number one, a sudden, violent, and illegal seizure of power from a government. Eya coup, no. Definition one, no. And then it has second definition. That second definition, no, see an instance of successfully achieving something difficult. An instance of successfully achieving something difficult. Enti Oliver C. Obeye Ku. I don't know whether he's referring to the first definition or the second definition. And very important, say he will have his day in court and explain himself. But the first one, already the definition is telling you that the thing is illegal and it is violent. And it is not a prescribed way to change a government. And that in itself, no, illegal. But the second one, no, an instance of achieving something which is difficult, you know, I don't see it to be the BIA problematic from my understanding. Another meaning will be better me, I educate me. So, having said this, you know, I think, say, in the issue of Atubuga, sorry if I got the name wrong. Sometimes Atubigani, Nyamano, confusing me kakra. He is a lecturer.
Yeah.
Kasa, function as Yamano topics to speak on. Now, in talking about the issues, you know, Obi Kasa, we should listen and listen attentively. The context from which the person speaks, and not to pick and choose. It looks as if just say Obi Kasa ku abamunti. We press the panic button without taking into cognizance the holistic viewer Nipanu war portray. Here is the person who is saying, say, there is a researcher, Onini Danfo Omuyeye. His personal research was on the Ghana police, and that of his friend was why some coups in Ghana succeed and why others fail. Now, Onuko ready thesis na nipakrona yenu. Ye can thesis uko the universities yetimi mau assignment we throw details edit to ho. No, thesis ni down for New Year was on coup d'etat in Ghana. Now, already diamana ni down for no troye. Why even coups come about? No, a mano the conclusion said, if those reasons now ni down for no troye is something to go by, no, then we may have one on our hand. And that we should do everything to avert it, to stop it from occurring. Now, Ubisa said, ingredients being and I wouldn't measure all the coups about since the time of Afrifanum, Kotokanum, Achampo Nomini Rollins. What are the things Omumba na Omusizi power? What are the things they use as their justification of staging the coup? Ebony, the unbearable hardship in the system. Most of them talk about this. They talk about high unemployment rate, especially among the teeming youth. Most of them talk about corruption that has become so endemic in the government structure and in the system. The days are rolling, apart from that, if the people are there and they become so hopeless, it seems there is no any green light in sight. Some of these things can urge people on to do the unthinkable. Ebinusu said, if the government becomes so adamant and so intransigent, uka omu bebia enya ade omudi ye adwuma omuntie omunfa nye adwuma de ombeya na ombeye enu koda chire no they become so oppressive. Yes, they become so oppressive. Now, say if they become so oppressive, now among for no a drew baby, yes, you upam a womb for utuni bema, and I yes, I can good. And say, these are some of the things that, yeah, these are some of the things that among for no jinaswa or multimedia yaku. And this or no or chess and yamai. And down for no true in his thesis. Now, or the share what is happening on the ground. We better watch out. And we look at our, regional environment. Regional environment, and he said, look at what is happening in Burkina Faso. See what is happening in the sub-region. Mali, all those people, all those places. It could also affect us. And he even went further to even call on the Minister for Security, Kendapa, to get in touch with the friend who carried out this thesis, so that if there are any clues of a manual to avert this situation from happening, Mpacho Boni Ben na Nipakroya Khan. MPP4 are taking it to the cleaners. Omwa titi didn't attempt ayenu the ombe. But sometimes Obronika baby say those who call for equity must come with clean and uncontaminated hands. So one would have thought that MPP4, they are accusing the NDC of promoting coup anytime they are in opposition. Meanwhile, in Krofoya, Omaye, Ako Kika Sansemi, they are not card-bearing members of the NDC. Ukoka Omusi, Omuni, President Mahama Jumada, and that makes them NDC. That is another, flawed argument. The fact that Obini Obiaye Jumadano doesn't make him a party member. So what they should understand is Uba Abaimwa, sometimes you tap certain expertise that you think that it can help your cause in your governance structure. At the time, President Mahama imported Obiawaye Jumawa UN sa Doche Malo. So Obekaya, they brought him to the presidency. And he worked for some time, and then he went back. But when you're a political person, so sometimes you bring such people and incorporate them in your governance structure to deliver. And it says, "Mu can say Obi beye adwuma wa ban mu a na kire say wo your party ni a." You should ask them whether Kwakwesi Indum worked under Kufuor. Is he an MPP member? The answer is no. He has his own political
even as
ideology.
a minister.
In fact, he is an Nkrumahist. Yeah. Kufuor Bayenu, he took one guy from the CPP. Your friend Malam Isa, he was given sports minister. Within some short time, Obenya scandal be a discovery man. And a scanu a year, a blaster for bonus be. And a scanu year. Enunti Wakoda Fiasi, but he was a known registered CPP member. So the fact that Obi Beye Juma wa Benwa enun say or your party. So these are two clear examples minimum to tell them that the fact that Vomowo and now say Atuwiga Eye Juma and Mahamanti or NDC is far from being right. But be as it may, MPP4 more accusing Crawford way of war and now coup mongering. You should ask yourself, Omuti opposition, what were they telling Ghanaians to do? They are then youth organizer, Samia Oku, group the youth, instructed them that omunyina omunkofa womafuno na womafuno de yen license enti say to a obekwa license na sa womafuno no ubebisa omu say were they calling for fufu party ana? Were they not calling for these people to go and unleash mayhem, to visit horror and terror on people? And these same people in opposition, you find Anthony Kabu telling the whole of the NPP people that if they don't win the coming election, at the time he was making that pronouncement, the coming election there'll be Afghanistan. Ube Bisa say, then of course Afghanistan as at that time. Ye were Taliban.
Wow.
Taliban for a Juma Omuyen wa Afghanistan. Omututu to bomb ni grenade ni sa anyamai. Enu krapo de ku krapo ye chengu eno. It's a whole fully fledged war. But young funny said, when nyina ya kika MPP in opposition, omuko fa nkofo free Serbia and South Africa, edi omuko share kukuemu, training their thugs and hoodlums. That training was it for peaceful purposes? Were they being trained for 6 march pass?
No.
Or they were being trained for gymnastics? And in Krofosano, sometimes they forget their past when they were in opposition. Some of the pronouncements they were making, including when their own flag bearer was saying that we should look at what is happening in the Arab Spring, and that somebody set himself on fire. And addressing the unemployment situation now. We could also have that thing on our hands. Was he also calling for Arab Spring in Ghana that time? This is somebody who's on record to have said, exactly. Was he Obianye Bemacho Obia, no Bia de mienu no kan media mintiase minim ade eye mienu was he Obia kita mienu na sa mienu no up to now my year research sa mitimi hu ade eye mienu no na omo nkrofo a omo nkrofo edi omo party na echi no omo nye nkrofo omo shempase, and that elections are hereby your name no all die be die, all die be die, repeating himself. And we have heard so many questions. These same NDC people come to defend all these reckless, uncouth, statements are Usha, which is very despicably repugnant. We had all this before. In fact, we tolerated all this. Omuyurefia, when they were in opposition, there was one man called Captain Budu Kumsin. Uko gogo na Usha, Captain Budu Kumsin once said, coup is eminent in Ghana. And that time, Nenya MPP na also. Obia niwa okochi Captain Budu Kumsin. Obia anka hwehwe. But Adru Omusono, now they have ears to hear. Obi can be beer. They are quick to move in and go and arrest that person. If arrest, they want to bring sanity in the country, we are saying that that sanity, it should be for all Ghanaians and should not be selective. And yes, sir, Obi can say, now you show background now. They take you. Bulldog eti studio waka say men's gold customers no yenti omuka yanti omuka ende nanado obedwane afrikro mu a asama okan ye no omuko chi no. But we have heard a lot of worse things coming from the MPP members against Mahama ni de kikanka ho. Obi a waka say Mahama onu ni fie onu any your friend say akamba no ni niama ni bevrola tenu je be shi omu fie ashi o mankasa. That person is walking free. Nobody is talking about that. Exactly. Enu nkoda nchen no yeti o man no.
In fact, MPP members they are above the law.
Na IMMA-ADIZA say yes yeti o man no mu ena hawa kumsi efa atuo edi call crowded area doing all the shooting and also saying the same on radio and television, broadcasting to the whole he said onu no two sa atuo no eye di obeye no. The best the police could do not to even invite her for statements. They went to her house. In fact, I would say they paid her a courtesy visit. After that visit, that was the end of the story.
Diplomat.
We have not heard of the case again. These are people Sosuka and Sema, and they are quick to find ways to arrest him. But meanwhile, Obiatinahwa, what threatening judge, I did the judge in them. I can't be over Kanyinano. That case, Omayen BC Basa, and made it foolish case. Sesan Omumpe violence were promo. Zongo 7, Yakumu Crawford 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What has happened to that case? Yamutu. Ayawaso, see what happened there. Yamutu. Yel Uba Kaka. De yaye Kaka de yakuno no. Sa case no. Yakofa committee bi abe kikan sembi enusu Yamutu. In an election now for the first time in the history of your crew, 8 people lost their lives. What has happened to that case? They will tell you they are investigating and nothing else. The only time they are serious in investigating and arresting people and putting them before court is when the other side of the coin, which is the NDC, is in the picture. And the can say nobody should ever think of staging any coup or making anything violent against this government. The only thing we can do is to ensure that every time we put our party card at a very safe place and ensure say ye kokromoti eno ena ye di beja omo kwan no mo kotena echire in opposition the nation builder beba now abechire omo how we govern and develop a country in a peaceful atmosphere. He can tolerate a lot of things. And that is why he's a man who has passed through the college of knowledge with an attitude of gratitude. His sensitivity, creativity, credibility, and ability for every progressive activity is untouchable and unquestionable.
Wow. Humble lion. Into answer the next topic no. Dr. Lawrence Eshe, Anna NDC France, Evans Darkon, Vibrant Youth, Anna Esten Kwesi, Joseph Mebra, Anna Kobnet J, Anna Hildewa, Anna Musa Fatau, Anna Achuma Mansa. meda obi bia sese oje brena wa hweye inti no ye beko ye next topic no ene say nanu ye say ye nrampo a ana MPP as Ghana no aye so funny oh aye stre na aye se de ase ye bonkro bi but obroni beka say enche betwam wogi din boni a obi na ka ye friend say kwanyum tunu bi o say oye papa oye fa oye boni a oye fa onyum tunu bi na ebo na nyum rafi ni di kakra kwasi apofo eje delay akwasi apofo eje na ka na asem o say oye boni a oye fa oye papa so aye fa inti Supreme Court MPP for and kodwan to a Supreme Court say say first and second speaker say omo esi edwem no omo ye referee omo timi koto aba in fact ye kura ye nimo hwe kura ye husa asem we die akoye asem bia ne kedin kakra ebi se ye di fie nyansa akura kan wa ase niema sheda nkoyi enkrofo adwene ene nyansa tutu afiri omutirimu ampa etukwan na wasi yakohwehwe baabi asa intelligent warriors ne sensible warriors ni nyina na yede bewura enkrofo bi mu adwene mu efi se niema bi wo a wo ya enhyeda ntwayi na Supreme Court ruling is it politically motivated enra de course yi abra yenim se president kra be ka asama say na ade mu ye twa constitution no wa impacteki it no onim what is right and what is wrong onim obi e nanu ano ka na asem se de esi edun ketia ne ka na so o say Ghana Supreme Court and eye Kufuadu Supreme Court it the other can no na ye adwuma na ka president de aka asem enra eye de na wo beka bi ne wo beka bi enka bi po yi wani ni ehunu se empo no wo hye kire mpo na wo ka bia wo hye kire po na wo ya wo ya no apepa wa no ba wo de ya na apese wo ma obi ehunu sampa wo na wo taye kire yate na se table ne tani ahwe na obi ansu sa nwom na ekoso no se na obi ansu na nkrofo besu pa because ebeten na ebeye ya ade ya de bia me ka ne say se saboga asam ya ye ken se wote ayi ye fe ne sen sta private jet mu pa na ebeye kakra ye beko IMF na sa de na anu ya ode atu kwai kra wonya mu ntina na Ghana de kra wonya mu ntina na se ayi wo ho a Ghana Airways wo ho a economic class ana obefro ho na abo say yes we are saying no condition is permanent no matter what oye den akonya no befiso oye den ubefiso someday kwame kroma 10 years no entimi anya hwe jeje 19 years no ofiso it no matter what ubefiso intino ya na ori of one star no ahwe wo de na aketwa ho intanko ben Supreme Court ruling, no, is it politically motivated?
IMMA-ADIZA, the American say, they be me bonfire, me say, and lead me not into temptation, and deliver me from evil. So, okay, me say, and yet. Politically motivated, missy, and lead me not into temptation. Now, you betray me for contempt. But a woman is say, Omu dia sema, yentimin kan wasem. But Kobani say, ye bet me a kan wasem, be yentimin kan a moonsem. A moonsem no ase. Yebebu aten eno no menim say I had it right you don't have to, go into the merits of the case, but you can speak about it. Exactly. But say omuye ruling ni we are. Wo ho kwan say wo beka wo so wadwen. Wo ho kwan say you can place that ruling no under a very sensitive microscope and also speak to the issues. These are issues, we have to set the foundation for those issues because we are talking about jurisprudence here. We are talking about law here. Now, ebanu law, law has two components. It has the letter and spirit. Law, in the administration of law, you also need to fall on evidence. You also have to fall on facts and figures. You also have to fall on logic. And equally important is that you have to fall on common sense. And in any adjudication, like I said, you need a law which has letter and spirit, you need evidence, you need facts and figures, you need logic, and you need common sense. Situation has to do with the fact that, say, first deputy and second deputy, as presiding member, and as a obi award chair, parliamentary, sitting, can they also vote? We should understand this thing clear. Say, omunyina ye parliamentary members, and that parliamentary members, they are cloned with the powers to vote. There's no ambiguity about that. Say, omu wo to me or say omu di vote. Having said that, say, we a member of parliament. Na upeneso na ye jiwutum as first or second deputy it elevates you to a particular stature which stature and yet the same as ordinary member. You are still a member, but Yama first and deputy speaker, anytime ube free original position as MP, wukita will vote ni will be biano. Se wu kwa kotina ejanuma, there is what you gain, and then there is what you lose. By virtue of the fact that you have moved from point A to point B. Now, so we are ordinary member. I say member onyanyinan yedimao. Your right to debate, your right to cast your vote. Any de kika onyinanu who was our powers. But ukotina ejwemu pair. Then you gain certain things and lose certain things. What are the things you gain? Ukotina jwemu, you gain the powers to even choose who speaks and who does not speak. You control the deliberations in parliament. You can even go to the extent of walking somebody out if you find the person's conduct being rude. And you gain certain powers when you sit in the chair. Don't forget that obedi objection be and motion be bar. Who powers are by virtue of the fact that you are sitting in the chair to even vote and answer ubetimi a rule. Say wasemi I have ruled on that issue, Mabwegu. You are given those powers. even say wo ba betina akonya no mu kra no a ye mawo standing ovation say ye be gina ho na wo betina ase. It is something you gain. But at the same time, there is the other side of the coin where you have to lose certain things. And what are the things that you have to lose? Your right to even debate on the floor of the house. Debate, you only give it a listening ear, control how this thing goes, choose depending on, they say something, you have caught the speaker's eye. The one who catches your eye is the one you call upon to speak. So as an ordinary member, you don't have those powers. So we have to understand fundamentally, say, yes, MP has the right to vote, but omuko certain threshold na elevating omuko bebia. There are so much things that they gain that ordinary no omuye MP they will not get. Until they will lose certain things and gain certain things. Now, some of the things they may lose, Uko Article 102 of the 1992 Constitution, a canway, was a quorum of parliament apart from the person presiding. Tio, ye person quorum of parliament apart from the person presiding. And apart from the person presiding, it could be the first or second deputy. Why have they said apart from the person presiding? Because he's presiding, his right to be counted to form the quorum, that right has been taken away. Apart from the one presiding, the person presiding shall be 1/3 of all members of parliament. All members of parliament. So Onusu was a member of parliament. But because he's presiding, he has been taken out in the counting of determining a quorum in parliament. So when you presuppose he say, if you assume a speakership, yes, a who preside here, certain things are taken away from you. When you come to preside, so now ye the motion biba na ye debate here, you don't join the debate. That also has been taken away from you. And the NDC for can say your right to even vote has also been taken away from you. Why has the right been taken away from you? Uko almost standing orders one. You will come to realize that even when they go to committee level, the chairman of the committee, now this is the standing order of parliament, chairman of a committee does not have an original vote, but has a casting vote. So no to your MP or representing a man for, but or committee members now also representing a man for or committee by virtue of the fact that chairman. The standing orders is telling you that chairman of a committee does not have an original vote. What he has is a casting vote. Next say, omuye vote ni we onu onye bi. This vote na pai e bia 4-4. Ansa na onu anya casting vote. Say me vote ako benkuma na nifa. So certain things are taken away from you, and this must be well established. Now, Supreme Court for say baby and uncle ye within Parliament. We also have to refer to Article 110. 110 no, or see, and I quote, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, Parliament may, by standing orders, regulate its own procedure, unquote. And the article a constitution ankasa has affirmed say Parliament, they have what it takes to draft their own standing orders, okay, that can regulate their own procedure how they go about things. The constitution has given them the powers to design their own thing to govern themselves. And this issue about say Supreme Court about omudi unanimous decision about which is highly anticipated. Obia washe the trajectory, in recent times, will come to the understanding. In fact, Ebinumukra say Omuye so united than Rietamale United, any Manchester United. In fact, your court, your proceedings be. Look, when they take you to the Supreme Court, now more panel membership, say even when you go to the appeals court, now omunina did omu judgment bar. Omunina throw omu independent view, depending on all the facts and figures and evidence available to them, and they draw their own conclusions. And we use most of these things as case studies for academic purposes. Sometimes, even in jurisprudence, Ultimate Court ruling Biaba in 1872, Yetimikofa Edibeye reference point to buttress a particular point. But here is the Supreme Court. They have, I don't know whether to use the word lazily, do a summary, giving it to one person to come and speak on their behalf, as if it is some kind of association via or Mukita spokesperson who speaks on their behalf. For heaven's sake, Supreme Court no yetua omunyinaka. Na sikana yetua omukanu, we pay them to work. So if ombetina ho na omunyina kita independent opinion on how they see things, if at the end of the day 5 say so and 4 say so, the majority carries the vote. But the point is that every individual has given his or her own perspective, his or her own opinion based on certain factors that will be known on the paper. But omunina meaning they go into conclave and tell this person that you go and draft anything on our behalf and come and read to the people. I find it so bizarre and lazy approach to the delivery of justice in our system, especially if it is emanating from the apex court of the land. But I'm hoping, say, this particular case here, Abai, we would ensure that case here, Abai, a free, omu independent view, Beba, so that your friend is saying, we will interrogate how they arrive at this decision. But Bibia Manya, which is very interesting, the one who was presiding on this particular case is Justice Duche. He was appointed by before ex-president. 2, Nene Amegache, appointed by Nana Akufo-Addo. 3, Professor Ashikote, appointed by Akufo-Addo. 4, Clemens Honyiga, Clarence Honyiga, appointed by Akufo-Addo. 5, Mariama Owusu, appointed by Akufo-Addo. 6, Lovelace Johnson, appointed by Akufo-Addo. 7. Emmanuel Yoni Kulendi, appointed by Akufo-Addo. These were the 7 judges. 1 appointed by President Kufuor, and the 6 of them appointed by His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo. Oh. Yeah, it is to be expected. We are not impugning anything, but what we are demanding. And he said, I think that Anasa or China and Oma promises say, Omudi, Omu ruling no beba. I just hope say it is not a summary sheet. I just hope say they will bring their individual what's it called? Opinions as to how they saw the whole thing. IMMA-ADIZA, even when you go to Article 104, see, except otherwise provided in this Constitution, matters in Parliament shall be determined by the votes of the majority of members present and voting, with at least half of all the members of Parliament present. Until we any problem no by obviously the NDC be unconstitutional because votes shall be determined, okay, by majority of the members present and voting. Now, with at least half of all the parliamentary members present. So NDC omudina so omudi edi kiki against the budget has to do with the fact that talking about members present, you can only determine that by looking at the attendance sheet. And in that attendance sheet, we had members, I think 274 present. So they knew they didn't have the members. So they walked out. And according to them, having walked out, when they say determined by majority of members present and voting, next I say they were not present to vote. So it makes what NDC did unconstitutional. And NDC is also saying, say, present means that you have signed onto the attendance sheet. You were also present in the chamber for that process, which kicked in. Time kicking in, Namumu walking out. And walking out of Parliament does not stop Parliament from going ahead in doing its business. And that was the bone of contention. But the same article, 104, clause 2, the Speaker shall have neither an original vote nor casting votes. Now, the Speaker here, a honor, when Joe Wise will say, Joe, another thing, Kachiro will say, he is not the Speaker. He is not the Speaker.
Joe Phyllis.
But meanwhile, the whole thing has to do with the fact that now, IMMA-ADIZA, the whole thing has to do with the fact that say, now, Article 104(2), said the Speaker shall have neither an original vote nor casting vote. So it is assumed that whoever assumed the speakership, Yenim said the Speaker will not be available at all times. That is why in the wisdom of the framers of the Constitution, they have designed that he should have deputies. And that deputies, so everything that is accorded the Speaker. Address them by the name Mr. Speaker. Say, well, you're deputy, and I want your deputy. Because now he's no more a member. Speakership no American. it elevates you. You gain certain things, and certainly you will lose certain things. So it is clear here by Article 104 Clause 2 that the Speaker shall have neither an original vote or a casting vote. Ben Crawford a patch say so a MP one dia SSO or to. That is not in dispute. We are MP connect now as MP and do your voting. But say who cross it now be Aponyano na ye be address you say MP what the speaker, then you fulfill certain things. IMMA-ADIZA, just think of this. Say or the two draw now what say in as much as people who are in favor say yes. Na omuka yes. People who are not in favor say NIE. Would the speaker also be shouting? Would he also participate in that voice vote? No. Is it conscionable?
No.
Say, yeah, or no, he will also shout. When he finishes the shouting, he's the one mandated to rule whether the yes have it or the NIE have it. So sometimes when we are making certain rulings, we should not rule because of the circumstances of the time, but we must also envisage that what we are ruling will have to be there and will have to, survive against the test of time. Because times be better, it will not be like this forever. Certainly times changes, and then seasons also change.
No matter what.
And it's a Dani. Exactly. The AMI says, Dani, you find some of these people who are supporting this frivolous, unconscionable ruling. The same people will tell you that they are heading to the Supreme Court because it doesn't make sense. This same Supreme Court, believe you me, depending on who is in power, will tell you that we are masters of our own rules. We can do and undo. There was one professor. Said, I have not he was giving lectures. And he was telling you, say, he comes from the law background, that in any political decisions, he can tell you for a fact, say, judges who sit on political cases, they are heavily influenced by their political persuasions. And there's no doubt about that. Say, Obi, Neko Kansa Assemblea or free NDC, Anka General Legal Council or my friend Dada, Anka one year, so kita the law license be Anka Jeffrey said. Yeah, so this is the situation in which we find ourselves.
Now, question be about my Uncle Ben.
Of the fact is that,
question be about question is say. How do you see the future of Ghana's democracy with the interference of the Supreme Court into parliamentary affairs? Dr. Lawrence, see you in Bissau.
A very dangerous thing. It's a very dangerous development. Dr. Lawrence, me chao bebre, me jirisa umuye. A very good question now, Wabisano. IMMA-ADIZA, if our democracy will succeed, then it means we have to allow state institutions to work without interference from the executive. Why am I saying so? If in Krofoya Mabubo Mudi, who sat on the case, including even the Chief Justice, the president NIE woman. Sometimes naturally, they are humans, and sometimes they may do things that will please the one who elevated them to where they are today. And that in itself will be an injury on your judicial system. Don't forget, these are people who have sworn an oath to administer justice without fear or favor, without ill will or affection. And if these people get compromised, then the foundations of our democracy is so weakened. And security it is the same government who is sending people into security people who have been sent there constable, which tells you say these are people joining the police force not too long ago and engaging in armed robbery and what have you. And in they have been compromised. People who will check this government and this administration, a bit to say institution like the Auditor General to protect our public purse. Who say we over expose community, dom level is gone. Which is the mechanism? Media now throw searchlight on activities of the government. So they have been targeted. You say they can, expose us. So we close down their stations. Places that you think that compete ni banks are your interest they say data bank ni nyamai. We go there in the name of politics and we close them down. And if there is a no in politics, okay, and in governance, we call it state capture. Naturally, say the state will want to control the media, the judiciary, the legislature, the security services, and all institutions that work your crown. In one of the things I forgot to mention is also the Electoral Commission. Which the mechanism, they want to control all those quarters. It is a banisa. We call that a state capture. And asema omunim say wa hwe aban we ba so every case that involves the government that you think that it will affect the government in one way or the other, you find this 70 repeating itself in all cases. And they are so bent in doing this, sowing those structures just because of 7 billion. And then question. They are so bent in ensuring say the question beko. Meanwhile, there are other cases of NDC also challenging certain areas. But you will not find the court being so eager to look into those cases. Ebi awuko ena yetimi adjourn case for the next 3 months. But meanwhile, the court sermons chase anywhere the person goes. And if this happens now, a danger to our democracy. And say yes or no, you don't get justice. And if you don't get justice, it undermines, the development of the nation. When people lose confidence in the judicial system, what's it called? People taking the laws into their own hands. Say, Bia, Nipakrono, Behununa, Ubia Faka, Ukohi, Miko Antua, Ukohi, Miko Antua. Last time, me ba Kumasi say, na amanfo eko antoa saa binu kita odwan ni nkokọ ni niama chese ni gina ho na mehu nyina adwiri me
saa
enti niama saa no
ebi musu ko nim kopo
because
ebi mu ko nim popo
nogoko enye nimgogo yeah enti IMMA-ADIZA yeah the woman no
mate
ube hu se amanfo ko nogoko ni your friend is saying Antoine Niamaya, they have lost confidence in our security services say omuko ho they will forward the case and get justice. I don't know yeti omanmu a ya nyina no ye wo kasa bia ye ka say usika so a wasem so a that means ohia ni de oni kamafo and we thought that in Crawford who should be protected in society no say your police for the bill to now to me for police for that police has been so compromised, they are so corrupt, and see what they are even doing now, doing the armed robbery themselves. Now unyasa assembly now the court now you who say oh who crapo the way NDC communicator now NDC officer bia ye say na ye di wasem no sonko say who go can assembly now you who say NDC ni just like Kuku Ayidowo the time our war in China or can say history has a way of repeating itself. For this he was arrested, taken to BNI need Keke. Yeah. Sami Jenfi, they came to arrest him, seize his gadgets, and say, Omudi frivolous allegations be amount. It is something I have described as sometimes charging you for treason for no reason because they want to take you to prison. And Nyamasano, I think say it is a danger to our democracy, and my big brother Dr. Lawrence must be rest assured that all these things in 3 years' time will come to naught, where we have somebody who respects the law, who holds in high esteem the human value, the respect for human rights, and ensure that he will rule with peaceful coexistence, be it for the party or outside the party. This is a man who, connects with everybody. Even when people are insulting him, he gives them handshakes and embraces them. This is an attitude of gratitude that
Ghana
his altitude.
Ghana for entry assembly say Nyankopon ye JM adom a saa de ne de enya de a Ghana for say omo relate wudi na tempa ye betwe waso because obi de buy obi say omo aka omo atum ni nyina omo nka omo no ntum for good and I say forever nti e ba aban ne sesa you will not talk ye kasa ya na ye beka but omo nkasa bi na omo ayedin ne de omo nka omo no ntum na me acknowledge ye bra guda daya Nyankopon shira papa na yi bi me do see you find this caricature voting 70 eya me de pa na me de ato etiefo anim nti no obo ne tofa ama yakoye matters ye final way no na yahwe o man summary ama ye no
I think say yeah, I think say very important for us to understand say your BBI a friend with separation of powers, because you can't government we have the legislature a parliament set up, executive president ministers, and then the judiciary. And as I say, who say the judiciary any what's it called? The legislature, they are separate independent bodies. Now, we are sowing certain seeds that can undermine our democracy. Can who say legislature no omu ye nkrofo a omu na omu ye mra. Sa mra no na ya ye di two judges for any ma omu di bu aten. Now say omu ye niyama bi that incur the displeasure of the legislature. Yemfa say abanya sisan. A government comes into office with overwhelming majority. They can also make laws that can weaken the powers and foundation of the judiciary. Because omuye mra no mujitu ma adani mra. Do you get my point? Omuye mra no musi. Supreme Court cry should not be more than 5 people. Supreme Court cry no this time round they are not the sole determinants of our constitution. Now a bedani law. You are not giving the mechanism. They can also pass laws to undermine your powers and authority. And we don't want to even get there. So there should not be this clash of people, trespassing and trying to dictate to the legislature how they should go about their business. Because 110 I come very clear. Say the parliament, they should have provisions in the constitution standing orders, that can regulate their own procedure. And therefore, any judgment it concerns the parliament. They could also as well rule, say, because parliament is also masters of their own rules, they should take it to the parliament, defer it to constitutional and legal committee in parliament for their own, arrangements. Because parliament more constitutional and legal committee wo nanka kanino Haruna is Debbie your friend is in NDC man or down. And that position it should be reserved for the opposition. Sir, legal and constitutional affairs. A year yajama opposition for. So let us do arrangement that people will not get offended. And when people get offended, Parliament hono, yemfa say ruling in Krabano, obit me ko ye the opinion our Parliament. Whatever happens in Parliament remains in Parliament. Untimi fa no court because baby original or ye the Untimi fa no court because in Parliament whatever you do there is deemed legal. Illegal there, but the point is that the law cannot take somebody on when he's doing parliamentary business in Parliament. They are giving them certain protection and powers. One, the can say they should make rules that can stand the test of time. See what it does mean is say committee, omuko committee, na omuko take a decision there. The chairman who by the standing orders, they say has no original vote, will tell you that I am also going to vote because I am also a member of Parliament, and by Supreme Court ruling, I'm still a member of Parliament and can exercise the vote. So your decision, your ruling, has thrown Parliament into a state of chaos and confusion. IMMA-ADIZA, I think we shall only advise our Supreme Court that they should go by the tenets of their oath, that is, to uphold the Constitution as prescribed by law, to do their ruling professionally, without ill will or affection, and to be just to all manner of persons. That's
Miss Medas na ansa na ne krakra no miko bi ne manka bidie eba ne sana ase de entwa yi no inti no Russia and Ukraine kaya de ankiete ye Ghana edwene ye ho na omo wo ne de nkaye de fa ye ho ben Inti impact ben edeba wiase na san deba Ghana yes so media meaning say abai we the COVID ojane she na chia say akola awakoka ntokwa a ontimi a wadwane akose ne maame achi no inti esa tufu omu pe omadwane akose Ukraine ne you can say Russia for war no inti no akaya de fa ye ho ben so abai ni nti e wo se ye ka kakra ti anko ben in 10 minutes ne wa bone tofa dia maye.
Yeah, IMMA-ADIZA, the whole thing is like this. Ukraine ni Russia for interquire. I think it has a whole lot of historic background why they are where they are today. And Ushe Assembly it sort of boiled down on security. Security, no, it has to do with Russia feels threatened because Kanino na omuo USSR, the Soviet Union, back in the days, Bebreno are breaking away from the Soviet Union. Now, having said that, most of the countries surrounding them are breaking, most of them, omu akobo NATO. Now, the last people are show desire to join happens to be Ukraine. Now, Ukraine, by their geographical position, any Russia, it's like some few distance being a war or money, say Russian capital, and Russia feels so much threatened security-wise. And so Munim say Omudi Omunko Bo Mupea, NATO for NATO will come and station in Ukraine, and that will translate being that Russia would have been surrounded by NATO. And Russia for feel very threatened, and for that, Oma caution Ukraine never to make that mistake or make that wrong move. Say Omudi Omunko NATO for, and it looks as if Ukraine for has not heeded, and they are taking steps to, formalize their entry into the NATO. And Nuna Akospaki war here, very unfortunate. And this war, I must say, is taking a heavy toll on an already COVID devastated world. I'm for recover from COVID, and when abebom, has to be said. Now, a whole lot of devastation has happened in Ukraine. A lot of people running into their millions have fled to neighboring countries, some in Romania, Bulgaria, Germany, name them, to resettle these people and integrate them is a whole lot. It puts pressure on a lot of economies who are already struggling. After now, or come out of the COVID, shocks. And globally, it is also giving rise in fuel prices, because the whole world is said that BBSCR, it has direct impact on some of these things like oil needs. Russia, when it comes to Europe, they supply almost about 40% of European gas. And the war, most of these countries are sanctioning them. What it does mean is Russia would like to retaliate. Some of these countries will have short supply of gas, and the few which is in the system prices no because so high. Globally no, it is biting us big time. Coming to our country, there, we wouldn't sit down and say it will not have impact if it is impacting on even some of our donors in business today. If you want to fly over Russia, it is impossible. Certain businesses are on the hold. Ghana, as we speak, one, we are also benefiting from the war because we are also net exporter of crude oil. So at least prices now cost yes, we have windfall be Africa. So for how it affects us, it's affecting us positively and negatively. We import oil and we export oil. And here we are affected when we import, and we also have a positive effect when we also export. And the SSA say we position ourselves from our exports, we use it to cushion the ordinary Ghanaian from the price hikes now. But here is a government that is desperate for funds. In fact, sika wajin nyinani taxes ni nyinani sika wajin water na train ni nyinano and sunudi. Enti on dream ohianfo say windfall amenya from oil prices going high because omankasa no baby a omo budgeti their price per gallon no, they are getting more in multiple folds from these oil prices here akosui. Enti esese yenya sika yedi be subsidize what we are suffering locally. But enya dia ombeye because we have all seen that they have mismanaged the economy. The economy is on its knees and they can't do anything about it. But the woman said, if all the world is overwhelmed by this inflow of a friend is saying refugees need their kika and kamu, they also need to find ways to contain this war because they don't know when it is going to finish. Impact so Enyani said Russia is also threatening, putting their nuclear on red alert, that in case anybody makes any attempt to join in the war, then they will let go and now release their nuclear weapon. And that nuclear weapon, only Almighty Jah can save all of us. It will have great impact. And some of these fears, there is so much tension and apprehension in the whole wide world, and Ghana is not an exemption. Because Ghana, ye here say, ye dokunu ye bibiano, ye betimi anormalizing. Because prices of goods and services in Ghana is skyrocketing. And if there will be anything that will aggravate the worsening situation already, say ebeha again be IMMA-ADIZA Russian war no yembo empire say it will come to an end and we shall find peaceful coexistence between Russia and Ukraine, and no country should wake up and go and attack another country. Some of Nkrofo championing the condemnation of Putin. A lot of these countries by themselves are guilty of what Putin is doing. I mean, just a belabor the point, but the point is that a lot of these countries here, who are so vocal in condemning Putin, understandably so. Anka yenyina yetimi tina wiasim ha obi nko tu nche obi so obi mfeel say okita weapons and okita amondin enti onu be sorry akọ to ahyɛ obi so ayɛ deɛ ɔpɛ ɛyɛ saa no a ɛmfa asomdwe mba. And sɛ ɛkɔba ne saa so a that International High Court of Justice no, they should not be meant for only third world countries. Advanced world no so ɔmo leaders fall foul of the law in war crimes ne deɛ keka nka ho no, they should also be held before the International High Court of Justice, given trial, and if possible, they prosecute them and jail them just like they did to Chastela, Gbagbo, and all those people. Other countries no muye bibi kakrabia and de yeninkwanya yedi omufaso. But look at what happened in Iraq. See what happened in Libya. See what happened in Falkland Island, and what have you. Cuba, Guantanamo Bay, is still under occupation. Look at what is happening between Israel and Palestine. They are still occupied lands which are over there. But as a binumu year, they find justification for it. A binumu year, they call them terrorists, dictators, and they take them to the International Court of Justice, and they deal with them. And what we are calling for is peace, coexistence in harmony, without any, your friend is saying, with a lot of trust, because mistrust no does. It is out of mistrust and Putin, because he doesn't trust NATO people surrounding him, any idea of it, just like United States. Once upon a time in 1960, Russia for echo station or Cuba, and because of this, Omuni Cuba a problem, because they don't feel safe if Russia has its weapons and station in Cuba. And Russia for withdraw echo Omukro, but it didn't stop the US from sanctioning Cuba for allowing their enemies, as at the time they were doing those Cold War, to harbor their enemies. And Omaibiano, you have the right to safeguard your national sovereignty and territorial integrity. But then we should do this with a lot of trust, transparency, harmony, and peaceful coexistence. IMMA-ADIZA, meda asene akonyawe.
Meda asese ye frɛ so je bre na ba Nyankopɔn Israel ewo mra wanya ewo ede ba dwumadie so na meda na hema asene obi bia wo hwɛ ye bia no Nyankopɔn Israel na nokware ni nie a eye IMMA-ADIZA IMMA-ADIZA sambo na medi ho chia me ye wada sene eye ya wada bia abai abra ya bononsia nti enche te se de Uncle Ben kaye no original nokware ni nie no ebeba na MPP fo ensem a wo mo kaye no o ma ba no o ma ba be debate ama Ghana fo ehunu se o mu twa ntro ana se o mo ka na kre nti enche original nokware ni nie no ye de be hyehyɛ so na ye de aba nti no ebra esem no migusu a ye keka nhoma ne mfidie edibom nti ebrepam no na Nyankopɔn ya adom ne ye de ba original nokware no nie eno nkyerɛ sɛ ye betwa impuni de mo amonim sɛ eye one-on-one na eye dedicated to NDC nti no sebi ofrudua pa na epia nti impuni de dedicated to NDC na original nokware ni ne de ebeba a eye debatable a eno de MPP NDC beba because some can asem na bia fine nti brana so say ombeyi omano ede kire Ghana fo ma obi ehunu say enokra na omokan ya na say entro na omutwa ya omumra na ommeyi omano tie nche nokware ni ne proper ebesa agini nedwa na eba ne sa ye the phone lines nyina beka ho se be ya adofo a omo test no omo beka na omo yi omo no omo so abeka ho bi the osese e wose utwa no no atwa no efisi e frɛ no nokware ni ya ha o ka na kra won to se bi o ka ya na aka oba it is allowed se wo beka de hye wo na etete wo efisi aha ana ye ka na kra no inti no mesa da Uncle Ben asibiem ese oje evre beka ye ho obi bia so oje evre ehwe ye bia na nyankopon hira no ma Becky happy birthday na enche me ba UK na oya March born de ye say March end ya ye njaye nti Uncle Ben ye san tonsa e de afra obiom say Hannah birthday ni ye niye ye still am a month of March ye gusu a ye san die inti me da say oje brother kai inti no on this note ye mejina wa nem ni ama ye tiefuo nyina bye bye inti atiefo mo ma bye bye